It kicks in. And welcome to this Island Stats Special Sports Talk. I'm your host, Earl Based, and I'm joined by three coaches from the UK, as well as Dennis Brown, who has forged a relationship with the UK-based organization and academy. We're here today. We're going to learn a lot more about what these gentlemen in their academy offer, and from Dennis's experience of how this can help young Bermudians going forward. So Dennis, obviously, you have been in touch with these gentlemen. You've built this relationship. Talk to us about what it is you're hoping they can help Bermuda footballers and educators as well, because clearly we also want our kids to be well educated, and if we could use football to do that, then that's a plus. So give us a sense of what you're hoping can come out of this relationship.
Okay, first of all, good afternoon, Earl. Thanks for having us. Just want to introduce you to Charlie Jackson, who's in charge of the Matrix Soccer Academy in the UK. Also, Anthony Meadows from the UK, and we also have Brian Watson from Salisbury, Maryland. This from Maryland, so two from the UK and one from Maryland.
Okay.
This all started last year when I was introduced to someone named Tony Robinson in the UK. Tony is actually the father of the Fulham left back Anthony Robinson. And we hit it off right away once I was introduced to him by Dante Labrock. And our mindset and our mandate is to improve and change the mindset of the Bermudian player. Also to open up the avenues for coaches as well, because it's not just about the players. So as the year went by, we were in a lot of talks with Charlie and another friend in England, Jimmy Hayes. But in order for me to really appreciate what these guys have to bring to the table, I had to go overseas to actually see for myself, when it came to the educational piece and even the football piece. And so we are here with Charlie and these guys today. Hopefully, this can be the start of something big for Bermuda football. We could not just football-wise, but educational-wise for our kids in Bermuda.
Well, Charlie, is it?
Yeah, Charlie.
Okay. Charlie, having the opportunity to lead this program, what is it you're particularly looking for from the Bermuda youngster?
We're just looking for an open mind, really, and we can develop our mantra, really, as it's been in the UK over the last years, is to develop very young, hopefully producing a footballer of tomorrow, really. Mm-hmm. The good thing about being here, they've got British passports, so if they are good enough. I currently work at Manchester City, and we have contacts with various clubs. I work at a boarding school, the Moorland School in Clitheroe, which we offer is a football school effectively, so the children can come on board there, and then with a view, hopefully long term, to get signed in an academy. So the ideology of bringing us here really is to push this next level of coaching, which we feel is this next generation of coaching into the young Bermudians, and then producing better players with a view to them to go into the national team. I mean, we've got a long-term view for the Bermudians to qualify for the World Cup, and that's the plan, our long-term plan. But in the midst of all of this is to produce academy players, but the players that stay on the island, they'll come out the other end better players.
Right. What age groups are you talking about, especially at the school?
If you're looking at overseas schools, you're probably looking at anything from 10 upwards. If you're looking at producing players here, anything from the age of 4 up to that, because that's where you start from young. Mm-hmm. It is an educational cycle, 6-7 years before you don't pass an exam in a high school until you've had 6 or 7 years of education. And this is the same process. But we fulfill that end game. We don't promise, we never do, but with our stats and our data over several years, we know we can do this, and we were pleasantly surprised over the last few days to actually see the talent that's on show really for us to see that.
Sure. And obviously in Maryland, you have a large base, and clearly you start from young ages and go right through. But looking at Charlie just mentioned about talent. Looking at the talent, what in particular in the Maryland areas are you looking for players to come and be involved in that area?
Well, we're actually from a fairly remote area of Maryland, believe it or not. So we're on the Eastern Shore, which is a peninsula. So we have a pretty small catchment area. So Charlie and I started by doing camps back in 2014, when we decided, basically as a beta test, the following year to start fielding teams under the matrix methodology. And since then, we only have about 100 kids in our program. Since then, we've been able to win a Maryland State Cup, and actually our under 15s were #1 in the country at one point. So that process has gotten to this point where we are in 2022 as a beta test, if you will. And we know we've been able to do it in that small area. So that's kind of acted as this process for us to refine things, to look at how to build it better. You touched on something that's very important to us, the academic piece. And we know now, because we have empirical data that shows it affects executive functioning and working memory skills, the way we train the kids. It's peer-led, so we're developing leaders in the program. So that's kind of where we are in the process, and we're hoping we can do something similar here.
Sure. Of course, when you talk about you're working with the unknown, because you guys are meeting kids here for the first time. If things work out, they've got to get over the unknown factor. So what are some of the things you guys put in place to take that fear factor, not just out of the player, but out of the parent as well, who entrusts you with their young one?
It's hard to say, really. We just introduce things slowly. We talk, we get down on the level. The kids have been great here, really engaging, so they want to learn. You can see that for us. So it's about building the relationships with the children who we're going to work with, and also building that relationship with the parents as well. Getting them down, getting them involved, getting them on board and giving them tasks to do that we can. I mean, you back at home, you give your parents tasks, don't you, during games? So it gives them a sense of inclusion.
There's a buy-in to that, yeah.
Well, let me ask you, because one of the major things is just that component of the buy-in to ensure that everyone's on the same page. So when one hears, okay, you're involved with Manchester City, you're at a boarding school, all those things actually add up. How do the kids then divide that time, because they've built that relationship and that bond with the one that they know and the one that they kind of entrust, so how do you work that out?
It's not a difficult balance, really. I mean, in an academic day at our school, they have about 6 to 8 hours a week of football, and that's not including games. So we may be playing 2 games a week as well. They've then got to play catch up on what we call prep. So they will, if they don't do the education because they're missing because of football, they've got to play those catch up after school in their time. That's not done, they're taken off the program. And it's a sort of, it helps itself, because they don't do it, they come off the program, they don't want to be doing that. And again, the buy-in for parents, we make the parents sign a contract, a behaviour contract at the beginning of the year, which basically stipulates that if their child isn't meeting our criteria, it's our rules, then they come off the program. Brian's got a similar program with his contracts as well, where the parents don't ever question his coaching, because you don't want to get into an argument one-on-one in front of a child, because it shows it for what it is. And I mean, touch wood, we don't do that. We don't have confrontations with parents. Parents see this, like Dennis did on the first time around, and go, wow, this is the best thing for our child. And the trust is, it's the trust. Once they've gained that trust, and they see the stats, what's happened in the past, that works 2 ways. Every child wants to be professional. Every parent thinks the child is going to be professional.
Yes.
honestly, over the years, once it gets to that age of 14, 15, 16, parents will realise if they see the other kids in the group who's better than them, it stands out. It's a standout. But damn, other children then can go into other sports or teaching or coaching, and that's what we found over the years is that some kids don't make it, then they've got a pathway to go do other fields of play, and it works over the years, and it does work.
That was going to be a question of mine as well, because as we know, the numbers never always add up. Not everybody's going to be a professional, but you can be a professional in the sport in some other way. So giving that option that if I'm not going to be a professional player, I can actually turn into the coaching side of it and still play, some fun league on the side and all that, but you still have a career in the game. How much of that conversation is held as you're getting to those ages, like you say, 14, 15, and you start to see that development gap?
That's a good question. I think when you look at the data and stats nationally, I think it's something like 0.01%.
Mm-hmm.
This was done last year, I think. Make it as a Premiership football. So it's 180 players out of about 1.8 million who play grassroots currently make it as a Premier League footballer. And the guy actually said that you've got probably more chance of being hit by a 747 on the way home.
Mm-hmm.
So those stats are real, and they're you can see them on the internet. So there's no, and I think parents have got a little bit more savvy. When I first started on this pathway as a coach way back in 1999 in Man United, it was new. Everybody didn't know. The academies were very new and formed in the UK. So people really didn't know this. There was no stats or data. It was just, my kid's going to play for Man United one day because it's never been seen before. I think as the years have progressed and it's evolved, the academies have evolved, parents are more savvy now. Parents are more realistic. But then you'll get one or two parents because you can't sign to the age of 9. So you'll get maybe 4 or 5 clubs interested in that child. That child could be out every night of the week with a different club until that decision is made. That's where we come in. We've got to safeguard that child because that child's doing his homework, sat in a car on the way home. He's eating his lunch in McDonald's, his dinner in McDonald's, and that isn't right. So parents have got to get a reality check. They don't know there's any damage. They just want to see their child play for a professional football club. Mm-hmm. So the balance we've got to do is say to the parent, pick one club, 2 clubs the maximum, and then you've got a decision to make. Every club wants the kid. Yes, that's fine. Maybe the Premier League or the football club should do more to stop that from happening. But that's the name of the game. Parents are aware of that. So are the football clubs. But it is a balance. It is a balance for sure.
Well, I know you guys have got to run. I know we're getting ready for a training session, but ultimately, your visit here, is this just a kind of familiarization of what you're going to see or what you're going to be talking with Dennis about more on a regular basis of what talent we have, how far this talent can go? And obviously you start somewhere, but you're also looking, as you already indicated, you want to see a country like Bermuda into the World Cup.
And Dennis, with Dennis's help on this, we've talked about it yesterday at length, and hopefully we're already planning the next visit to plan forward, and we want to really produce. We want to have more connections with this. We're producing with the best players, but the important thing is making sure the grassroots players know this is at the end game is here, not just giving it them because it's you can come here and do this. There has to be a stick and carrot. Because children know that success and failure is part of life. When you're losing is part of life. Yeah. If you don't smell both of them, you're not going to know what's the difference.
So true. Well, Dennis,
the point I think that needs to be made is Matrix is more than just a training methodology. It's a culture. It's a style of play. It's the whole comprehensive approach to the game. So I think sometimes it gets put in a box that it's just a training method, and it's much more than that.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you, gentlemen, for coming to Bermuda. Well, working with Dennis and our youngsters as well, because the more they get from the outside, when I say the outside, meaning outside of Bermuda, especially on island, because it offers more of our kids the opportunity to be seen. I think this is a good start, and I wish you guys all the best. And hopefully, when you do come back, you have more people interested in looking in and heading to either Maryland or to the UK.
Thank you.
So,
thank you so much.
Thank you.